Hey, good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Friday, June the 12th, 2026, and the time now is 7:43 a.m. So, friends, the shameful reality of African division or African disunity continues. Once again, friends, I'm going to repeat. The shameful reality of African division or African disunity continues. And this was basically manifested in the opening game of this World Cup 2026, which yesterday, the 11th of June this year, 2026, was the opening day. The first match took place between Mexico and South Africa. Now, friends, I did watch some parts of the opening ceremony, and I thought it was spectacular. Mexico did a wonderful job. The crowd was under control. You could see and hear the pride in the people as they interact with the event or participated in the event. But I also watched the game. I watched reruns on social media, on YouTube, between South Africa and Mexico. It was an interesting game, and Mexico won. But that was not the highlight as I see it. Yes, for Mexicans, it basically was a proud moment for them. And they won on their home soil during a World Cup event. They won bigly, 2-0. 2-0, in this case, Mexico scoring two goals against South Africa, 0. But the highlight, at least as social media sees it, is the fact that many Africans in Africa and throughout the diaspora supported Mexico. And they did not only support Mexico verbally, they support Mexico or supported Mexico in terms of their physical action or activity or activities. Whether you look at videos on social media being posted by Africans on the continent in Africa or those throughout the diaspora, there are videos of many dressed in traditional Mexican attire, Mexican costume, or what they perceive to be traditional Mexican costume, and also dancing to Mexican traditional song, folklore songs, or music, basically trolling South Africa. Now, friends, to be honest, we are probably in the era, we are living in the era of trolls, the era of the trollings. Now, I did complete a paper in which I talk about African unity. So I did mention in the paper that in order for sub-Sahara or for Africa, period, to be prosperous and strong, Sub-Sahara has to unify to become one national entity, one country, centered on Nigeria, because Nigeria has the intellectual, the cultural, the financial, and in terms of the population, those means by which Africa should be brought together. I also mentioned the fact that language nationalism can be very much important in unifying sub-Saharan Africa. In this case, a unified sub-Saharan Africa, and I named this country Futa. I have been ideating about this country or on the name for this country since about 2010 or so when I was in college. And the name that I came up with, or the names that I came up with, are such. The first one is Futa, which is the Federation of the United Tribes of Africa, or the Absolute Union of the United Tribes of the ancestral land of Bantu. I am going to repeat. The Federation of the United Tribes of Africa, or the Absolute Union of the United Tribes of the ancestral land of Bantu. So, friends, there are lots of examples or various levels of nationalism within the name for this country, this unified African country that I've created, which also has to deal with the creation myth on which nationalism can also be based on. And I mentioned, and it is also my theory that sub-Saharan Africa cannot unify with North Africa because of a lot of language, cultural, ethnic, and social grievances between sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa. And even the border between sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa will have to be redrawn. There will be lots of push and pull between those entities, to which I also believe even Europe could support North Africa because keeping sub-Saharan from unifying would be a serious matter for Europe. And friends, once again, I believe that Europe could support North Africa because keeping sub-Saharan from unifying is or also will be a serious matter for Europe because a unified sub-Saharan Africa that can no longer be exploited, that can challenge Europe, fight Europe, and protect itself and its resources will be a threat for Europe. It's over for Europe. Now, friends, I do apologize for deviating, but back to the situation which I am supposed to be talking about the World Cup event and the fact that Africans on the continent and throughout the diaspora supported Mexico. Now, it is painful to watch, to experience. Once again, friends, this has been very painful to experience, to watch. And it has to deal with the fact that in recent times, some South Africans, black South Africans, they have been going at other Africans, other black Africans who were in South Africa, migrants in South Africa. They're beating them on the streets. They're preventing them from seeking medical care or even going to school. And the anger by which these guys have been attacking black Africans, it is like, dude, what are black Africans doing to you? What have they done to you? We've seen since the fall of apartheid, one thing that the white establishment in South Africa had done, and also their white conglomerate from around the world, those who they are in cahoot with, or they form collaboration or solidarity with, they've managed to prevent the South African government and the ANC from holding white people accountable, even though apartheid, quote unquote, collapsed or was defeated. White South Africans had to keep everything. They own over 70% of the economy and the land in the country. And they've never had to face retribution for their crime against Africans or crimes against Africans, South Africans, blacks. But what they've done, not only they've prevented the South African government and the people from holding them accountable, they've also prevented the equal spread and distribution of wealth in the country. To the point where now you have frustration even against the ANC. Now, there has been movement, and I've even heard South African whites on social media going in at ANC, basically creating a platform and the possibility that South African blacks and all over the world and other blacks to discredit the ANC. Now, for me, I believe once the ANC is discredited, then it's over. There is no creation myth surrounding the ANC. Then we can whitewash the ANC's history, its fight for independence for South Africa and black liberation. And I've even heard South Africans talking smack about Nelson Mandela, who is supposed to be a historical, heroic figure in the country. So by defeating or destroying the legacy of the ANC and Nelson Mandela, you can sail free into power again. In recently, we saw in the recent South African election, the Democratic Alliance (DA) won bigly, and now they are a force within the government. And this is a group that basically is a remnant of the apartheid system of consciousness. That now they're even gaining black support. You have many black South Africans that are even talking about bringing apartheid back. So that I am like, you bitches. You don't know what it means like to be the second class citizen in your own country. Even though now you have data, statistics coming out that South African blacks, when you remove the whites and the Asian from the number, South African blacks are the most uneducated on the continent. It is not only shameful, it is painful. But meanwhile, South African blacks are attacking other Africans. But you've had many other Africans going at it verbally, trolling black South Africans and South Africa. It is painful to watch and to experience because honestly, as much as it is a remnant of the South African population, a very small number of people that are doing this ridiculous act of attacking black Africans. The entire black South African population is being blamed by other Africans. And I want to stress that what black South Africans are doing to other Africans could happen in any country. When people feel like the little thing that they have or perceive to have had are being taken away by other people, outsiders, quote unquote, they will attack even their own family members. In this case, for many black South Africans, black solidarity doesn't exist. They're going in, destroying the properties of other black Africans in South Africa. But one thing that I very much did not like or do not like is the fact that the South African government has been slow to act and to issue a public condemnation of what they were doing. And I'm talking about a pan Africanist condemnation, like fuck off. You are not going to attack our black brothers and sisters. And I've also not been experiencing South African celebrities doing the same, like condemning what has been occurring in South Africa. I think because of this slow movement, it persists. But this is gaining condemnation of South Africans, people who suffered a lot under white colonial oppression, who their history gained an emotional solidarity complex from the rest of the world. Now their history is being challenged, is being put in jeopardy because you have a remnant of South Africans attacking other black Africans and doing horrible acts to other black Africans. And because of this, black Africans are not only trolling South Africa, there are those who are even calling for attack on South Africans and kicking South Africans from their home countries. And I've heard some talking about if whites want to recolonize South Africa or genocide them, that they're going to support the whites. That is a dumb shit. How does that benefit black Africans? As much as we may not like what some South Africans have done, we need to hold the line. We are seeing around the world the collaboration of white supremacists led by Donald Trump. We're seeing the AFD gaining notoriety and strength in Germany. We are seeing Meloni in Italy. We are seeing white supremacist apparatus throughout the white West basically popping up. And they are gaining momentum, support from Donald Trump. What we are looking at is the collaboration of white supremacists or white supremacy. In this case, as much as we may not like what South Africans or some South Africans have done, we need to hold the line because we need to look at the bigger picture. One thing that we need to look at, and I do believe that some whites, and they've said it, they want to split South Africa. It should be the policy of any country on the continent of Africa, especially the black country. It should be the policy that there should never be a white-only country on the African continent. You want to live in Africa, you were born in Africa, you have generations of history in Africa, you will live within the border of a country. South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, or whatsoever. You are not going to split an African land after you've humiliated Africa for 500 years. You're not going to split an African land and have your own white country on the African continent. Those days are over. And also, friends, we as Africans, there should be a policy that we support one another. We do not let one another humiliate each other's, and also anyone, any outsiders humiliate us as a group, as a collective. because by doing this, we continue to fall deeper and deeper into despair, and we are continue to be colonized and imperialized in various ways. But Black South Africans mistreating other Africans, I think, needs to stop, and other Africans on the continent and throughout the diaspora needs to forgive them. But also, my friends, the fact that Africans on the continent and throughout the diaspora chose to support Mexico over South Africa or against South Africa, I think it is painful to experience, to watch, and to realize. I think it needs to stop. Africans need to forgive South Africa. We need to make sure Pan Africanism and African solidarity doesn't fracture further. And it is not going to help Africa in any way possible, politically, socially, culturally, academically, industrially, economically, and in other means as well. I think Africans need to basically hold the line, support one another, and make sure solidarity prevail. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. However, friends, I'm going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, or most important, my friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.